Today's episode of Coloring Crypto is sponsored by Blinked, Blinked.live. We've got an awesome interview with Julie, the CEO and founder, where she tells us about Blinked, the recommendation app that's available now on the App Store. But the big deal is the announcement of the Blinked token. You can go to Blinked.live right now and get in line to get involved. So check that out. So that's coming up. That's the bulk of the episode today, but I want to give you a teaser on what we've been working on. For example, with Blinked, this really cool idea to be able to connect with your friends and recommend anything makes a lot of sense to build that on the blockchain. So they're building it, and it'll be cool when it gets here. But in the meantime, what's happened with crypto is the prices have dropped and a lot of the hype has kind of gone away. And we're calling this at Coloring Crypto the gestation period. Last week, I called a bunch of friends and former guests and just sort of doing a rough assessment of what's happening with crypto in the middle of 2018. And the responses were so diverse, so across the board, it really felt decentralized. So I'm going to play you a couple samples. Let's start with my friend Lenny on his thoughts on the gestation period.
I guess, yeah, in that thread of it being in a gestation period, we're still yet to kind of see the really strong use cases, although you probably have covered something on your podcast.
No, Lenny, we haven't on the podcast shared any solutions that you can download now and feel the blockchain impacting you. Here's a take from Terrence Yang to just drop in our face the state of things.
The FOMO has turned to fear. Fear of missing out has become fear. There are people who are suffering hyperinflation and currency devaluation right now. They are not buying Bitcoin. They're not.
Terrence Yang was our guest on episode 19, and he really talks about the lack of adoption, he's a long-term bull, but he talks about long-term being 10 years, 30 years. I think we could summarize a little bit of this feeling with this quote from my friend Rebecca.
Anytime the pendulum swings, we swung way out far on the other side, and everyone and their brother and sister and grandpa and grandma had a coin they were coming out with, or an ICO or something. I could literally name off 20 friends that, have a coin that they're coming out with, or that they're repping for, or that they're posting, And I think what I think happened was that most people actually heard about cryptocurrencies and blockchain and Bitcoin and whatnot right before it hit its top, and everyone kind of got in.
So we could just leave it there, but I still had this itching feeling of something is happening. What is it? And I called Amy Wan, who was on episode 15, and she had a newborn in her arms while we talked, and was basically just chill out.
Sure, cryptocurrency is very volatile. It fluctuates a lot. This time around, I think people are a little bit scared, but I just don't think it's anything really new. I mean,
nothing new. I appreciate the voice of reason and sort of relax. But I'm sort of mixing up here, the prices of the cryptocurrencies dropping, and then the desire or want for evidence in our daily lives for the impact of the blockchain, and trying to define the middle of 2018. How will we look back on this period? And again, gestation, that's what I'm saying, which kind of gives me a little bit of sense of grounding within this very decentralized sense of opinions. And anyway, that's what I'm working on. Let's get to the Blinked episode here. But look forward, please, to our gestation episode, because we're going to try to summarize. I'm going to play more of these voices and then sort of wrap it up with Miko Matsumura, who called at 1:30 in the morning. Well, for me, he was in Asia. But basically, we talked for about an hour, and I got to express a lot of my anxiety / existential dilemma / what happens when we're all decentralized craziness. And I think it'll be a really fun episode. Okay, wait. First, let me give you a sample of Miko. That was a fun conversation, and then we'll get to this episode with Blinked.
Yes, like it's so big because it's the world doing itself. It's and because of that, it's the expression of thousands of individual natures, but in aggregate, it's the expression of nature itself, right?
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Miko and I get into the feeling of the tide pulled back. And I think this is happening across the world in kind of every industry and geopolitics in general. Something is coming. We don't know what it is. Things are being built. That's coming up soon. The Gestation episode from Coloring Crypto. All right, let's get into some pragmatic stuff. Here's a company, Blinked, a recommendation app. They are building something now. We can't wait till it's released. Let's get into it. Thanks. And if you want to be a sponsor yourself of Coloring Crypto, hit me on Twitter at Gabe Colors, GABECOLORS, and hit me up in general on Twitter and otherwise. And what do you think about this whole gestation period idea? What's happening with you and crypto? Can't wait to get into it. All right, here we go. Have you got a favorite recommendation app? Where you can find out what hotel to go to or what restaurant you might like. Today on Coloring Crypto, we have Julie Benlevy-Zeff, the CEO and founder of Blinked. And this is her second company. She has a long history of working on recommendation software and comes to this with a solution that is pretty exciting because it encompasses the ability to recommend anything from people to places to things. And it's already live in the App Store, but they're in the process of bringing it to the blockchain. Welcome to Coloring Crypto, Julie.
Thank you. Nice to be here today.
The first question I start out with is, when did you first sort of hear of crypto and the blockchain, and what kind of got you to become a believer?
I'm fascinated by crypto and blockchain. I just love the potential of what they can both do and how they've really just changed the world. Everything, life as we know it pretty much changes with crypto and blockchain. Governments, entire institutions, entire systems, the way they function are now all changing because somebody created Bitcoin on the blockchain.
What do you think is the most exciting aspect, in the way of how it might possibly change our lives in a positive way?
Well, you're asking me on a day where I got really frustrated with my bank for not doing something as quickly as they were supposed to. So my answer to that is right off the bat, I just love the financial implications with banking in general. I actually just wrote an article on Medium the other day about it and how, the reason that governments and large institutions like banks are getting nervous about crypto, not getting nervous, they are nervous about the blockchain and crypto, is because it really stands to kind of make them redundant, right? When you can send somebody cryptocurrency in a matter of seconds without any third-party involvement, you don't need to send a wire and pay a fee to send a wire or have any other traditional banking transaction fees. It's super exciting. And this week, actually, when I had this, problem with my bank, I just thought to myself, I can't wait to be able to really be fully in cryptocurrency where I can send money to somebody in 2 seconds or less and not have to deal with any third party, centralized platforms.
I mean, isn't that, it almost seems so obvious, if you just walk into a bank and they've got this entirely, huge space, unused space, great real estate, and you're like, this is how is this business thriving? It's so stagnant and old. I agree. I can't wait till that's all disrupted. Well, for
sure. I mean, one of the examples that I always like to give is, if we think we haven't been dealing with cryptocurrency for 10 years, we're highly mistaken, right? Because if you think about it, when was the last time you actually went to the bank and pulled out a ton of cash? Everything that we deal with in terms of paying people just about today is done digitally, right? We log into our bank accounts online and view our bank balances. We use, Venmo and PayPal and, Zelle and a bunch of other third parties to send money.
everything is done digitally, right? Except we're still paying, large federal banking institutions, or centralized banking institutions rather, an arm and a leg to do banking with them. So, really, we're calling it cryptocurrency because it's a new form of currency that we're paying in. But we've been dealing with digital currency for the past 10 years or so. We've just been paying third parties for it, and now we don't have to.
It's amazing that it has taken them this long to, adjust and change. I remember in like 96 or 97 trying to sign up for online banking, and they were charging me to do online banking. I couldn't believe it. I'm saving you guys money on postage and letters and stamps and all these things. And they're charging me, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're getting nickel and dime by our banks.
Yeah.
And life has gotten easier for them, really, because of the advent of computers and the internet and digital payments and processing and everything else. Everything is online, but we're actually paying more for those services. And when you think about how banks actually store your data, right? Today, banks, I don't know if you know this, but banks basically silo your data to back it up, right? So they might take your 2017 information and, store it on their servers in, South Dakota. They might take your 2016 information and silo it in Kansas. And then every time you log in, you are accessing the Oracle servers, and all of that information is basically being pulled in. So if they have any problems, right, they're constantly backing up their data, and they have administrators who have access to your data online. And if something doesn't add up, then they basically perform an audit. I don't know about you, but when I think about how many times, really big platforms online have been compromised by hackers, that just doesn't make me feel so great about, keeping my life savings with one or a few different banks. Blockchain, for example, is so much more robust and so different because your data is basically being photographed for all intents and purposes every 10 seconds, right? Because the blockchain is self-auditing and basically audits itself every 10 seconds every day. So it's not like you can go in and change that data because it's, existing on, on a huge network, basically, of computers at the same time versus being siloed off like your bank data is.
It's a nice, tangible example for folks out there trying to understand what decentralized versus centralized means when you compare the blockchain being, this vast distributed, snapshot every 10 seconds, database, and then the banks dropping into, different silos in Kansas by year. It does explain a lot of why when I'm trying to download my bank statements or just bank info, it's slow and clunky, and yes, it's going to be good to have these things come through. I'm curious, as you you mentioned finding an article on Medium about the banks. What do you find just generally are the best resources for you to keep up on the news? Or there's so much noise out there. How have you been learning about the blockchain, and who do you follow on Twitter, or what Medium articles do you kind of tend to read, or just in general, what would you suggest to folks who want to kind of keep up on what's happening and how to learn about this?
I think Bitcoin Talk is probably my favorite go-to. It's so interesting to see what different people's perspectives are. Outside of the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency, people talk about it with just the knowledge that they hear about in passing. But when you really dive into something like Bitcoin Talk, you really see what the true chatter is about cryptocurrency and what people are predicting. You see the difference, for example, when Bitcoin, might take a little bit of a dive in the market and decrease in value for a short period of time. People on the outside are talking about how Bitcoin is taking a hit and how the market, the cryptocurrency market is not strong. But if you go inside platforms like Bitcoin Talk, for example, you can really see how people in the crypto space are really predicting that Bitcoin's going to be worth $50,000, in a coin in the next, in the matter of a year or two. So there's just two different perspectives, and I still like to talk to a lot of people, a lot of developers in the space, and really understand. Knowledge is power, right? So I really just like to understand what each of the blockchains are truly capable of in terms of transaction processing, and how much they can really do compared to where we are today.
We'll put a link to Bitcoin Talk in the show notes. And what have you been doing with any kind of like holdings of crypto since January, since that like huge peak? And through this kind of like this bear market the last couple of months, what's been have you been holding or buying or selling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm buying and I'm holding. I feel like, I'm on board with this idea that, or with the belief rather, that it's really just a temporary slump in the market. And it's pretty funny because there are all these people who, if you go into Bitcoin Talk and listen to conversations, feel like the only reason the market really decreases, coincidentally, is not one of the only reasons, but the market tends to decrease or go, or drop slightly every time there's news that comes out, right? So the SEC says something about the cryptocurrency or something happens in the United States in terms of on the federal side, and all of a sudden the value of cryptocurrency goes down, Bitcoin drops, it goes up to 10,000, it goes back down to 5,000, right? And so, there are all these theories inside the world of crypto that, people are really just busy buying up Bitcoin and other digital currencies because they know that this is only the beginning and that they're all going to increase in value.
Well, it's so funny, like in like the podcast space or just in all this space, a lot of people are kind of like feeling the energy sucked out with just because they're so tied to the price. And I just keep thinking like, there's nobody I've talked to who's not convinced that the prices will come back. It's just a matter of when. And so what I'm trying to keep in mind is like, okay, this is the perfect time to take a deep breath and get our ducks in a row so that when it does take off, we're not trying to catch up again, to this. We're just like lined up to take advantage of it across everything, which might be a good lead into to you guys, because you guys are just in the process of launching your ICO. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're super excited. We're launching a platform called Blink. Blink is a recommendation platform that's user-generated content-based. So anyone around the world can contribute a recommendation on anything. We're already in iTunes. We've already spent a great deal of time developing the product, and now we're integrating blockchain technology and a Blink token into the platform. And really, blockchain and a token environment made the most sense for us. It was just a natural thing for us to integrate into the platform because users like to be rewarded for their content in a world of decentralization, right? There are all these platforms that are popping up where users are rewarded for their contributions and for their content. That's the idea of decentralization, right? Is reward the user and take the big reward away from, people like Mark Zuckerberg and share it with the audiences who are on the platforms. So what we're seeing today, right, is a tendency for platforms to be smaller, not as big as platforms like Facebook, but much more engaged, a lot more activity on the platform, and market caps that are already, north of $1 billion because the users are so engaged on the platform. Steemit is one example. Rebane is another example. Steemit actually is a token that engages users for their content, similar to Huffington Post. And the idea really is reward the user for their contribution, and the value of the entire platform increases in a decentralized way. Well, they have less than 1 million users on their platform and have gotten up to a $1.5 billion market cap with about 20% monthly active users. So, 200,000 people on the platform are making a platform, worth $1.5 billion in terms of market cap. Some argue that market cap isn't necessarily the same as valuation, but it's still an indication of how platforms like Blinked really are created to reward the end user for their contribution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's like take that first layer. So you can actually, people out there, you can go to iTunes and download Blinked right now, and let's take that first layer of what do you think are going to be the best kind of like examples of industries or things that would be recommended on your platform? Like, what's going to be the best first couple of use cases?
Yeah, so we developed Blinked as a platform. It's actually the first platform in the world where you can recommend absolutely anything. So when you think about most recommendation platforms like Yelp or other platforms, there's Angie's List in the United States and Travelocity and all these other places. They tend to focus just on one thing or one vertical. We actually developed Blinked as a platform that enables you to recommend people, places, products, services, technology, events. You name it, it can be recommended on the platform. So not only are you kind of saving all of your favorite things on the Blinked platform so that you can go back and access them at any time, but anyone you know who knows you can tap into your recommendations as well. So if I have a friend who lives in LA and I'm going to LA and want a hotel recommendation or a restaurant recommendation or a shopping recommendation or anything else, I can basically go to that friend's profile on the platform and see what they recommend. I can also look at all of my friends on the platform in Los Angeles and see what they recommend. And we developed Blinked so that you can essentially recommend anything, anywhere around the world in any country.
Okay, so you could literally recommend, hotels, restaurants, but also maybe like your favorite music or your
favorite cryptocurrency.
Favorite cryptocurrencies.
Your favorite token.
You said even like people, maybe if you're a web developer, you use
your dog walker, your doctor, your dentist, your favorite musician, your favorite song on Spotify or Apple Music or anything. We developed it so that it's not just about, traditional restaurants, hotels, and bars, because that's what most recommendation platforms are. And they're also, niche to a specific market. This is the world's first platform that enables users to search for or make recommendations on absolutely anything from their friends.
What's the
Similar
best
to how you would interact on social media, on any other social media.
What's the best onboarding tip you'd recommend? So if I go download Blink right now, should I get my profile kind of built up, or should I just go right in there and recommend somebody, or look for my friends, or what's the best way to kind of like really leverage Blink right off the bat?
After you sign up on the existing platform, and I should highlight that we don't have the Blinked token integrated into this yet. It will be released in Blinked version 5.0 coming out at the end of 2018 this year. We're currently working on it right now. I would just recommend logging in, signing up either through, with your email or through social media, and just looking around, looking at the content, going to the Discover section to see the types of things that people are recommending. And, sometimes I forget that I'm the founder of this platform, and I do just that, and I get sucked in because I'm looking at all the things. I'm looking at all the things that people recommend. I'm like, wow, look at this breakfast, sandwich maker that makes an egg sandwich in less than 30 seconds. I didn't even know about that.
And what was the driving passion for you and your team? Like, what was it using Yelp or using Facebook, where you were like, oh man, this is really not solving the problem that I have? Like, what was like the kind of core passion?
Yeah, I think I've been in the recommendation space for a long time. This is my second platform. I actually exited from a previous recommendation platform a few years ago. And one of my biggest pet peeves is taking advantage of businesses, right? And I feel like, I don't want to talk badly about anyone because I just don't feel like that's good juju, but there are a lot of businesses who feel very taken advantage of by some big recommendation platforms out there. Like, they don't get good recommendations, nobody makes good recommendations about them, or they're not noticeable unless they buy advertising on the platforms to boost those. They suddenly disappear. It's kind of like digital blackmail a little bit. I have some friends in the restaurant industry, and if you ask most people, they'll tell you that they essentially blackmail. Like, they get blackmailed to have good reviews about their businesses online. What better way to get recommendations than by getting them from your friends directly, right? I don't want to read a review from a total stranger anyway. I don't want to read what somebody has to say about a restaurant if I don't know if we even have the same sensibility for food, right? Or products or people or anything, music. I want to hear it straight from my friends. And that's really, the point of Blink. And in a world of decentralization now, we are integrating a Blink token to reward every user on the platform, so that they're rewarded for their contributions, their recommendations on the platform. They're rewarded for their engagement on the platform. The more people who like their stuff, the more they're rewarded. And our biggest, which I kind of love, is that the users actually earn almost all of the revenue from advertising on the platform as well. So users can earn up.
Yeah, explain that. How do the users earn from advertisers?
So users can earn up to 90% of all advertising revenue on the Blink platform with the new Blinked token. So forget the middleman, forget traditional social media, right, where you see an ad and somebody else gets paid because you're there. How does that suit anybody? Now, the users on the platform are the ones who are getting rewarded by the advertisers because they're seeing the advertisements. But advertisers have budgets. They've got a lot of money to spend. Ultimately, they just want to get it in front of the right people. So it's like, hey, you're watching the Super Bowl anyway, right? And a television commercial comes on that costs millions and millions of dollars that the networks collect. Imagine watching the Super Bowl and all of a sudden you're the one who's getting paid for sitting on your couch and watching the Super Bowl. That's a way better model, in my opinion.
And talk about the blockchain and why the blockchain. And I'm thinking of, with this whole Facebook, just sort of PR disaster, well, not even PR disaster, like true sort of negligence, if not, malice on their part of owning our data and treating us like products. And the backlash there, a lot of people have said, oh, the blockchain is going to have a solution for us there. Talk to us about Blinked, and as you guys develop the blockchain piece of this, how that affects me and my data as a user.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I think we're all, talked out about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, right? Like we've seen him on Capitol Hill, and every day there's like a new piece of press about what information he didn't release or did release. At the end of the day, blockchain provides pure transparency, right? And we are essentially, if Facebook was on the blockchain, it would never happen. But if Facebook was on the blockchain, that would have never happened. Now we're creating data, right? Now we're creating decentralized platforms where Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, they don't own your data anymore. You own your data, and the only place that has access to your data is the blockchain, right? And you monetize your own data on a platform like Blink. So you basically earn by monetizing who you are, what your interests are, what your activity looks like on the platform, how you engage with other users. And it's not an ad campaign that's set by corporate America, right? It's actually completely independent on the blockchain, developed on the blockchain, on the Blink platform. And the advertiser, whether it's Delta Airlines or W Hotels or Virgin Airways or any international advertiser, it's not unique to advertisers in America, advertisers worldwide, even local advertisers. Any advertiser can go in and say, I would like to target this specific demographic of people who are interested in X, Y, and Z. And when you're using the Blink platform, you'll actually get a pop-up in a full-screen advertisement that would say something to the effect of, hey, W Hotels would like to pay you, X number of Blink tokens for watching this new 15-second video on their new hotel in Puerto Rico. Would you like to watch it, right? So A, it's optional, and B, you get paid for watching the ad, and the platform basically knows what you're interested in anyway as a result of your activity on your engagement on the platform, and shows you content that is synergistic with your interests, and then you get paid for it.
And what do you, so you mentioned like the end of 2018, what would be like the first sort of rollout feature? Like, I mean, maybe you just described it, but I know, the software development alone is a challenging thing, thing on its own. And with the blockchain, have you gotten a sense with, your team and your developers of what are the kind of the first aspects that you'll be rolling out?
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. We're integrating the token so that users can get rewarded on the platform. The app is done. It's in iTunes right now. Version 5.0 will have a more refined, crypto-friendly user interface with the new Blink token environment. And, with the ads as well that will enable users to earn directly from the advertisers. And, we recognize that there's, there are other platforms out there. There's the BAT token. There are a lot of different advertising reward models. This is a model that doesn't require changing user habits whatsoever, right? We're taking what users do every day and we're rewarding them for it. So we're going to be integrating both of those things into the platform by the end of this year.
And then for folks that actually would like to participate, now, or actually, purchase tokens or kind of get involved, is that possible? Or what would you tell listeners who want to find out more and get involved?
Yeah, sure. So we've had an overwhelming response to Blink and the Blink token. Users can find us at blink.live. And we actually are fully committed for our private pre-sale, which went very, very quickly.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. And we just have had an overwhelming response. We're in our pre-sale. We're actually going to be opening up our pre-sale today. And we will basically have a queue on a first-come, first-served basis for users to purchase tokens. We're going to see how quickly we sell out in our in our pre-sale, but we anticipate that it'll go fairly quickly.
Awesome. So listeners can go to blink.live right now and sign up to get in the queue if they're interested in purchasing tokens. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. One of the biggest things on the platform I neglected to mention is that given decentralization on the Blink platform, we're also enabling users to become local advertising sales administrators on the platform, what we call LASAs. LASAs basically can claim their stake in their territory to become exclusive advertising sales reps on the platform anywhere in the world. So we're going to be releasing a certain number of slots in each city based on how big the populations are. And they'll actually be programmed into the platform, I should say. We, meaning the developers, as we program everything on the blockchain for the Blink platform. And it'll enable anyone around the world to become a LASA and sell local advertising in their areas on the platform and earn on a commission basis, just like any traditional advertising salesperson. So we're truly a decentralized platform. We're super excited to be rolling it out.
And that's sort of similar to what we might be familiar with as like sort of an affiliate model or...
Yeah, I mean, imagine somebody who lives in a city, in a small city, who wants to introduce their local, businesses to the Blink platform. They would basically act as the liaison on the advertising side to get those advertisers onto the platform and get in front of users who will get rewarded on the platform by those advertisers directly. So those losses earn a commission as well. So it's truly decentralized. The users are earning, the administrators are earning on the platform, whether on the content side or the advertising side. The advertisers are reaching the users directly with their content. It's about time. It's about time users were rewarded. When you think about how many years we've gone and how much advertisers and businesses spend on advertising, and we've never collected a cent of it. So I think, the timing is right.
Well, it's a very cool model. It's a great app, Blinked. And Julie, it's a pleasure having you on Coloring Crypto.
Thank you. It was awesome speaking with you. Thanks so much for taking the time. Looking forward to seeing you on Blinked.
Coloring Crypto.
Download Blinked in the App Store and visit blinked.live, blinked.live, to find out more about the token sale. It's a weird time in crypto. Exciting, but very strange. Hit me, Gabe Colors, GABECOLORS, at Gabe Colors on Twitter. Let us know what you think. What do you think of the gestation period? Are you building something? Are you making a difference? Or are you just hodling? What's happening with crypto in the middle of 2018, the gestation period?
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in Coloring Crypto are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in Coloring Crypto is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice.